Well, hello there, friends, and thank you for joining me today for this ministry moment. Welcome again to the Christian Church of Connellsville's sanctuary, and we love to be in here, and there's some good worship. It takes its place here. Wanted to talk to you today about where Jesus is. A lot of people wonder, how could he be here? I'm having such a problem, one man might exclaim, or perhaps a person with a drinking problem may, between bouts, I guess you could say, she wonders, why isn't Jesus with me? Where is he? Does he care? Well, I want to tell you about a program and an event that occurred in my Virginia Beach church, and this has been a couple of decades ago, but I remember it clear as day. The city of Virginia Beach is, maybe still, I'm not sure, but it was then the largest city in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Now that may sound funny, but the city at that time had over 500,000 people. And when you count the metropolitan area, you had many more. So one of the things that city didn't have was a place for the homeless to stay. Rather, what they had was a conglomeration of churches, and they had a pretty neat scheme. Winters are not generally that bad in Virginia Beach. Average temperatures in the 40s. Cool, but not bitter cold like we have here. And during the night, during the evening, the homeless population of Virginia Beach, which at least those who participate, which is 60, 70, 80 people, would be bussed around. I know that sounds terrible, but these buses are paid for by the Volunteers of America Foundation. And they are taken to 10 or 12 or 14 churches during the summer weekend, or during the days in the summer. And they would spend the night at different churches, one church per week. And it wasn't on weekends, it was Monday through Friday. Now this was a relatively inexpensive solution, and it was one that the churches of the region really supported. Our church was chosen to do that ministry because we had a very large social hall, and people would bring their sleeping bags and just lay them out on the floor. One of the members of the church, sometimes a layperson, sometimes clergy, and we had several clergy, would serve as chaplain, and they would usually rotate around the week. And then there was another layperson who stayed the entire night and was kind of a go-to person if somebody needed something. So on one occasion, that go-to person happened to be a visitor to our church. And this was a man who was struggling with his faith at that time. He was really struggling with the fact that so much evil can happen in everyday life. And he wondered, like a lot of people wonder, where is Jesus? And he would engage me in conversation every now and then. And he would always say, "Pastor, I'm not a theologian, but," and then he would express an opinion which sort of was Christian sometimes and at other times not so much. Well, we were there one evening. It was about 10 o'clock, and the men who were there, who were homeless, they had jobs during the day, and they were usually pretty tired, so they didn't stay up way late. And it was about 10 o'clock, and most of them were trying to sleep, and some others were kind of clustered in a corner or somewhere and discussed or maybe played cards. And it was quiet. And evidently, one of those groups started to talk about the Lord. And someone that was in that group began to tell some exciting things that had happened to him, that God had done in a way of healing. Well, that conversation grew and grew, and several other people joined it. And before you know it, there was 10 or 12, and my friend then joined the group and excitedly listened to some of the illustrations that were being told and some of the experiences that people had. Well, I didn't know anything about it, and I was getting ready to go home, which was just a walk across the street. And so he came and found me near my office, and he said this. He said, "Wake up, wake up. I want you to come and see this. Granted, I'm no theologian," his touch phrase, "but I think Jesus is in that room." And to hear this fellow, who wasn't even sure what it meant to be a believer, say that, well, I had to go find out. But what impressed me is that Jesus was in that room, a large room, and he was in the conversation. He was in the small groups, and maybe a few miracles that might have been happening. Anyway, we've just finished up the Christmas season, and one of the words we hear over and over again is the word Emmanuel. And Emmanuel simply means God with us. And that really is his name. Even in difficult times, God is with us. Even in times of crisis and pain and suffering and even death, he is with us. And down in that room of 60 or 70 or 80 men, homeless, working during the day, living in churches, or at least for a week, all across the city, he was there too. And my prayer for you this week is that, not that he be with you, because I know he will be, but that God may give you the eyes to see him in every situation. Have a blessed weekend. We'll see you next week.